Hello everyone. So I just finished reading this book, Escobar, Drugs, Guns, Money, Power. The inside story of Pablo Escobar, the world's most powerful criminal. I didn't buy this book. This book was given to me by a friend as a result of me growing a mustache. Like that. And him deciding I looked like a Mexican drug dealer, and therefore this was a good book for me to read, even though Escobar wasn't Mexican, of course, it was Colombian. But we had some fun making fun of my moustache, which is now gone. Um, this book is interesting because it was actually written by Escobar's brother, Roberto Escobar, who I didn't even know existed. You know, everybody knows about Escobar, and Escobar obviously had a family, and a mother and a brother. The brother was older than him, a couple of years older than him, I think, and he was actually a champion bicycle racer, and he was a successful businessman. He had a business actually selling and making bicycles. Reading the story of that is quite entertaining. So he was doing well before Escobar got into the drug business. And Escobar was initially into counterfeit goods, contraband. And then from that, he branched into drugs. And it seems like Escobar was always a bit of a good deal maker. Now, remember, this guy is describing his younger brother, but he did write it, I think, in his 70s. So maybe he'd had time to get away from the whole rose tinted glasses, who's my brother, more of a balanced approach, because every monster is a human being. So he was describing a human being he probably knew better than any other person. As in, he knew Escobar better than anybody else knew him. No, he was his older brother, so he'd known him all his life. It's a very interesting story. I read it, I wasn't sure if I'd enjoy it. You know, it's not my kind of genre, but it was a very humanely told story. Escobar and his brother, they grew up very, very poor. And, Pablo and his brother, I should say, grew up very, very poor. Pablo said he was going to be a millionaire by the time he was 22, and he did through contraband before he ever got into drugs. Pablo was good at business. He seemed like quite a smart guy as well. You know, the image portrayed is that he was this monster, he was this murderer, he was completely ruthless, and I'm sure some parts of his personality were to be that successful. You know, he was a billionaire by any estimation, a multi-billionaire back in the 80s and 90s. He also became the figurehead. The Western media portrayed Escobar as the American media as the whole reason America had a drug problem. Never mind the fact that Americans are easily addicted and they like drugs. So the whole idea was that if you kill Escobar, you'll solve the drug problem. Of course, they didn't, because there were lots of other drug dealers as well. There were lots of other cartels, and you know the Medellin or the Medellin cartel was not just Escobar; the whole group of different people underneath Escobar. He was their patron. He was a leader that they all listened to, because by listening to him, business went better. The Colombian government actually didn't have much of a problem with Escobar either. For a long time, there wasn't that much violence. It was when the Colombian government, under pressure from the American government, where all these drugs are coming from, you know, we can't possibly take responsibility, it's all your fault, and you have to stop the drugs. So then they started to cooperate with the Americans, and Escobar fought against them. He actually initially became a member of the government, but it didn't last long because he got named as a drug dealer and everything under pressure from the United States, and that's when the real violence began, because the government was corrupt. Anything, you know, if you've got a government with foreign influence in it, it's going to be corrupted. It's that simple. And the foreign influence was America in this case, and that's when they started hiring other gangs, other militias. You know, if anybody knows anything about American foreign policy, it generally involves killing lots of people with help from militias, or overthrowing governments. They've even overthrown an Australian government. Not many people know about that because Australia is white. You know, you don't do that thing to white countries, they're civilized. But that's when the real violence began. Escobar fought back. One thing he was fighting was extradition of Colombian criminals to the United States. And by him fighting that, he protected pretty much all of the other drug dealers. So one of the things I got from this book is Roberto was there with Pablo during all of their closest calls. all of the nearly captures, all of the nearly shots. They did everything together. And, you know, they lived in the jungle. They had a hard life sometimes. They had a lot of money, not always access to it. They had a lot of money and a lot of power. And Escobar did things like build houses for people, build football stadiums for people, give money to the poor. So the Colombian people, the people in Medellin, actually loved him. That's one of the reasons it was so hard to capture for so long. I mean, you had the DEA, the American DEA after him. You had paramilitary organizations after him. You had 2 or 3 armies after him at one point, and they still couldn't catch him. And it was when he became careless, and his brother noted he was becoming careless, that he eventually got caught. He got shot on a roof. Roberto's idea is that he shot himself. Pablo shot himself when he realized there was no escape. He had always said, better a grave in Colombia than a prison cell in America. So he thinks he shot himself behind the ear. But nobody was there to see it, right? And then, of course, the DEA posed with the body like he was some kind of trophy for hunters. He's dead, by the way. DNA evidence proved it. There's lots of people who say, oh, Pablo lived, just like there's a lot of people who say Elvis lived. They did a DNA check on the body when his mother died. And it's Pablo who's dead. But actually, it's a fascinating story. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. His brother Roberto also got a bit careless. You know, they took extreme security measures. How do you survive that long when you've got so many people after you? And it was when they were careless that things went wrong. His brother got bombed in prison, nearly killed. His family was bombed on. I mean, imagine the amount of firepower after him for so many years, and they failed. And you may have seen things like Narcos or something, where they talk about the cathedral, the prison he built, and everything. But Roberto's description of it is somewhat different from what you see on Netflix. Netflix isn't, you know, Narcos was entertainment, not factual, but based on fact. But I really enjoyed this book, so thank you, Thomas, for lending it to me after I became apparently somebody who resembled a Mexican drug dealer. And what was the name that my Texan friend gave me? She speaks Spanish fluently. I can't remember now. But it was the whiskers, the mustache. Anyway, I'll give this one by Roberto Escobar 8 out of 10. Now for me, an average book is a 5 out of 10, right? 8 out of 10 seems quite high. So 7 out of 10 will be something I really enjoyed. I'm not going to enjoy the average book. That's my, you know, there's terrible books and then there's average books up to 5 out of 10. Everything above that is good, but I won't necessarily enjoy everything good. I'm sure there's lots of people who just want to know about this Pablo Escobar because he's iconic. He's almost a mythical figure. This is a good one to read if you do want to read something on him. I'll read the back of it for you. Murderer, philanthropist, drug dealer, politician, devil, saint. Many words have been used to describe Pablo Escobar, but one is irrefutable legend. He ordered the deaths of thousands, ran drugs to all corners of the world, was elected to parliament, constructed his own prison, and consulted with presidents. Controlling an estimated fortune of 20 billion, built through fair murder and criminal ingenuity, his ambition was as boundless and insatiable as his violence. This is the first major definitive biography of his remarkable life told through the all-knowing eyes of his brother Roberto Escobar. According to the Sunday Times, this is jaw-dropping. Roberto's portrait of his brother is an important corrective. And according to the Independent, Escobar led such an extraordinary life that the narrative is always absorbing. There's some photographs in here as well. Maybe I'll show those to you. There we go. Roberto Escobar as he looks today, if he's still alive, I don't know. That's after a lot of reconstructive surgery. Roberto Escobar, the national cycling prodigy, legend, whatever you want to say. What else have we got here? Quite a few. Pictures of their mother, pictures of birthday parties, pictures. There's that famous mugshot in here that everybody seems to have seen. If I can find it, but I'll only do it if I can find it quickly. Oh, here we go, here's some more. The famous Pablo Escobar mugshot. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Escobar was like this guy. They said, oh, if you kill him, the drug problem will be solved. No, it wasn't. The drugs continued pretty much unabated thanks to the Cali cartel and all the other drug cartels. The idea that or if you kill a certain leader, everything will be good, or if you kill a certain, criminal, everything will be good. It doesn't work, you know. And often it's an excuse. So, for example, now people go on about, oh, if you kill a certain leader who's flouting the rules, then everything will be fixed. But actually, what if the system that voted for that leader and the whole society and the whole culture behind it is just as bad, just as corrupt, just as extreme, just as evil? But that's getting off the topic. Good book. Check it out. That's what it looks like. Hope you enjoyed that.